family good.
All right, according to my watch, we have 7 o'clock now, so I'd like to call the February 26, 2024 Planning Board meeting to order. And first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd stand with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, now the invocation. If you'd please bow your heads with me, we'll pray. Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come together here tonight and meet on behalf of the town. We'd like to ask for your blessing over this meeting, and we'd like to ask for your guidance and direction in the decisions we make tonight. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Now we've got a slight change on our agenda. We're going to go to the regular agenda B, the welcome to 2024 and introductions of board members and staff. Is that you, Shelley? All righty.
Repeat after me. I, Gonzalo Errol Ozon, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States.
I, Gonzalo Errol
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support
that I will support
and maintain
and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution of
and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as a town of Rolesville planning board member, so help me God.
Please repeat after me. I, Donald H. Lawrence III,
I, Donald H. Lawrence III,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North
of
Carolina,
North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a town of Rolesville
As
and
a-
board member,
Town of Roseville Planning Board member.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, sir. I, James Schwartz,
I, James Schwartz,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a town of Rolesville Planning Board member,
as a Town of Roseville Planning Board member.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations to all three. And thank you for your willing to serve again for the town. And
Hey, this is Donnie and ours last
So last go around.
go.
All right.
well, hopefully it'll be a good one. All right. And we have a new board liaison now. Miss April Sneed will be joining us for here on out. And so I guess that concludes the introductions and swearing in. So the next item will be to elect a chair and vice chair for this upcoming year. We would open the floor for nominations for both chair and vice chair.
I'll make a nomination for chair and vice chair. Can I do it at the same time?
Let's do separate. Let's do chair first.
Okay.
Chair first, then I would like to have Mr. Moss repeat as chairman.
Well, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Now the floor is open for a nomination for vice chair.
I'll make a nomination for vice chair.
All right.
For vice chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Donnie Lawrence.
All right, we have a nomination for vice chair for Mr. Donnie Lawrence. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you for the votes. And
Move it over.
yeah, we have a chair and vice chair.
Excuse to move you over.
Yeah, that, right?
All right, so now we're going to jump back up a little bit to the approval of the December 18th, 2023 Planning Board minutes. Hopefully, everyone's had a chance to read those. You know,
I had a couple things I was just curious about. The last YouTube upload was August 28th meeting. Are there any issues with uploading the YouTube videos, or am I missing them online? Okay. Okay, cool, I appreciate that, because I went onto the channel and I looked just in sorting them, from recently viewed, and then I also searched for planning board, or just used the word planning as my search, and August 28th was the last meeting that showed up.
I'm not sure about if you do an engine search, but if you go to our website and you go to planning, or not planning, excuse me, if you go to the agendas, when you go to the agenda where you.
Okay, on the far column?
On the fourth column all the way to the right, it's gonna show you there.
Okay, I'll double check that, because I was using the YouTube search, not a regular internet search. I was actually searching within the town's channel as well. So, but I didn't even think to look at to look, so I'll double check that. So thank you. Yeah.
It did have some problems, but I will certainly take a look at it to make sure that it is on there. So
Cool.
thank you for doing that.
Yeah, appreciate that. A couple other things that I was curious about, and I don't know if it needed to be what kind of level of detail there was, but for MA 2208 Harris Creek Farms, there was a suggestion for the developer to speak with property owners about bringing Universal Drive up to town standards. I know the minutes show that the developer was going to bring it up to DOT standards, but there was a recommendation for them to bring it up to town standards to talk to residents about that, so I don't know if that needs to be reflected or not. And there was also a conversation about the concerns about parking on Gideon Drive, since the current plan was not allowing parking, and one of the suggestions was to widen it to a 30-foot road to allow parking. So that was something that was discussed as well in the meeting. There was also a suggestion to remove townhomes from that plan as an alternate because of the precedents that the town commissioners have been setting. So that was something that was also not in the minutes. And then that same suggestion for removing townhomes was also for the rezoning of 2302 Woodleaf assemblage. So again, I don't know if that detail is necessarily needed, but those were things that were discussed. And then I also wanted to clarify one thing, Meredith, I think maybe you can help with this. In our minutes, it says that there would not be a gate at the Gideon and Universal intersection. And in our notes, it said that the developer said there would not be a gate. I thought there was going to be a gate because Gideon was going to be a town road, which would be public, and Universal, even if they paid it, was still going to be private access. So I thought there had to be a gate for that.
I am not familiar with the gate standards. Mike, do you have, Mike, look like it coming up? Okay.
Okay, yeah. So I just wasn't sure if that was a typo, that was saying that it was not, or there was going to be. I thought there was going to be. I thought that's how the conversation was.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the context here. So it says, Mr. George stated it will be paved to DOT standards. Fire and emergency services will have access. It will be maintained by the HOA, and no, it will not be gated. I believe he's speaking about Universal Drive. in their condition to do some improvements, even though it's a private access easement. Is that the context?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because
that's the same.
Universal right now is private access.
Yes. Whereas
And-
Gideon, it goes east-west, Gideon comes north-south through the project, and that'll be a new public street, to your point.
I don't think you can, I don't think you can dump out a public road onto a private access easement in that way.
Well,
I thought there
it's
had
never
to be.
ideal. That's something we can clarify. I'm guessing fire access would preclude any gating of a public road at its terminus at a private access easement. It also kind of goes against the spirit of what I think the developer was proposing, was to improve Universal to a more passable all-weather drive surface to then connect to Gideon as another ways in and out, and to serve all the residents who are not going to be in that subdivision, because there's a few holdout lots there that the new subdivision will surround on Gideon. And so
Right.
they would go out north on Gideon and out Universal, like they do today, I think, in practice.
But then wouldn't that require Universal to be a public?
Not require, no. It's still a public access easement, well, sorry. It's an access easement of some determinant, either public or private. I don't know the details of that. And that's standing today, just like I believe Gideon has a access easement over it for all of those property owners to traverse up and down in. Parts of Gideon will be replaced by a public right-of-way through the subdivision process
Right.
for that project, should it be approved.
I just think there's a lot of confusion about like what's actually allowed to happen on that roadway, given that it's on a private property right now.
On Universal.
And I don't know that the property owners are going to be aware that that's going to be a second entrance. Because that's what it sounds like people were trying to avoid that becoming, unless it was improved up to the higher standard, which would
Got it.
require that road to be annexed by the town.
Right. And at this moment, that's not on the table because the developer does not own that property.
Right.
So they can't voluntarily annex that land for the right-of-way, that property owner. And I think it's at least one, maybe more, for the extent of Universal.
So, yeah, and that's what I'm confused about too, then who's allowed to, so if it's a private access easement, which I understand it is right now, maybe and only the people that are on the current Gideon Drive, the 5 or 6 residents that are on that road right now would have access to get in and out that way, because they have specific permission to use that private access easement.
Yes.
Is that going to mean that when that entire community gets developed, that everybody in there will have access to use that?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer firmly, but, so that development will also create a brand-new street out to Jonesville Road through it. So if you can go one way on that route, you could go the other way.
And that's, right.
So everybody would be reciprocatingly be able to travel amongst those two roads. And I think that's part of the negotiation between the developer and those folks on Universal, is to say, do you want full access both through the subdivision's new road out,
Right.
which might get a traffic signal at some point, or do you want to close off connection from there, keep Universal private, maybe take the improvement offer to pave it to some degree, but separate those. And again, those folks on Gideon will then have the use of that new street out to Jonesville. So they don't need to go north and out on Universal. They'd be given a full, proper public right-of-way option. But maybe Universal stays detached, a gate of some sort, and maybe just for fire access. Sorry, Donnie, I'm pointing to you. for fire accessibility between the two, communities. But as far as full, open, 24/7 access, that is a very good question. I don't know that detail.
Yeah, so that's what I was confused about with that, because.
This topic will, I'm sure, come up at the town board meeting.
And I guess I have a question on this, so, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I think for this motion, this was rezoning only. This isn't a design or a build. This is just for rezoning strictly.
Well, that is
right?
correct. It's a concept
So
of.
now, I think all that will come out later on down the road, so.
That's an excellent point.
But I was just trying to make sure we're looking at the same thing, that a
Yep.
rezoning is a rezoning, and yeah, what you're referring to, I think will be in the concept build-out and further
Right.
staff discussion. I may be wrong.
All the
I'm not
subdivision
speaking for you,
plans,
but yeah.
the TRC review, where county fire,
Right,
local
the
fire
only reason I
review it.
bring it up is because I understand it to be a conditioning of the rezoning request, which is why I thought it would be attached to the.
There's an applicant's condition to do the improvements on Universal. the whole topic of access and connectivity, right, gate or no gate, to your point, is, I think, a TBD at subdivision stage.
Okay,
But
fair enough.
it's a fair enough topic to bring up at the rezoning because of those adjacencies, the adjacent property owners and their
So I think that's
concerns.
going to be a pretty interesting conversation. I know the property owner is willing to have that conversation to bring the road all the way up to standards. I know they're
Okay.
willing to do that. I just don't know if the conversation's taking place. But I know there's going to be a significant difference between having that a public road, which they're fine with, if it's improved that way, versus it just, being asphalted like it says in the current condition.
That's right.
And then people driving over top of it. I think there's going to be, a little bit of this difference of understanding
Okay.
of what's to be expected.
Yeah, and
Okay.
setting the expectations is always extremely
I
important.
think at this point, we need to see what needs to be in the minutes, and rather than rehashing the
No,
last
I
meeting.
understand. Yeah, no, that's fair. Like I said, that's why I questioned. I wasn't sure, that's fine.
So you want to make a motion with,
Clarification as to what you would like me to change going forward with the minutes before we go in and adopt them, please?
I don't mean to keep, so I guess I'm asking, and maybe, and all the years I've been doing this, a rezoning is to rezone from whatever this was, residential to general, or R30, right? To bring it up to the new UDO standard, so, and I know you were referring to no townhomes or town, and I don't, that's not for this discussion at a rezoning, is that not the concept plan discussion, or no?
Well, the rezoning is a conditional zoning. It doesn't include a concept drawing of the potential project. This particular project had a very detailed plan layout, if you recall. It was 11 sheets. It's very detailed, so it lent itself to a lot of analysis and scrutiny as to eventual actual built things like connections, gate or no gate, widths, pavement, all those types of things, which is a little in the deeds, in the details, in the weeds at rezoning.
Yeah.
So, yes, it is all about rezoning, the district, the uses, the major commitments, which I think the conditions speak to. But that concept drawing is so detailed, it does lend itself to further conversation. But yes, all of those details get worked out through the TRC review of preliminary subdivision plat and construction drawings for that.
Even the parking for the greenways, I believe, was.
Absolutely.
And I don't, and I'm just asking to make sure we're all on the same page. That wouldn't be in the rezoning minutes. I don't, the townhomes
Unless
and
you
the
made a
parking and all, but
Okay,
I think,
that's
and
fair.
I'm just,
That's why I
just trying to
asked. I don't know
clarify
what
where
level
we're
of
at.
detail we really need to go into
Right.
with some of the conversations that took place. So if everybody doesn't feel like this additional detail is necessary, then that's fine. It doesn't matter.
that's
I don't know
for
if
the rest
anybody
of the board.
cares either way, so.
I would say there's a lot of conversation in these 30 to 60-minute conversations when we're doing the presentations and so forth. If it's in a motion that you would like to send to the board with a recommendation of, yes or no, with some things to look at, those will definitely be chronicled in the minutes. So sometimes, though,
That's fair enough.
in an hour conversation, not every detail makes the minutes.
Okay, that's fair enough.
To get the point.
Because again, I just want to make sure I understand
Yeah.
what we all would expect to see in the minutes.
Sure.
So that's fair enough. So as far as that goes, I'm okay with not making any amendments to
Okay.
the notes. Because it's a fair point.
all right?
Thank you.
So,
So
Mr.
with that, I'll
Chairman,
make a motion to
oh, go ahead.
approve the minutes.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
Just-
That worked.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Get your power.
You got it.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right. On to regular agenda, item number 2, the Affordable Housing Plan Update.
Actually, if it's all right, go back one step to the overview of planning board
Oh, I'm sorry. I
responsibilities.
skipped over back and forth.
And speaking
Overview
of
the
that
planning
being
board.
hidden on the agenda, hidden underneath your agenda and minutes are a copy of 2.12 Planning Board from the LDO. And this is the section in our LDO that defines the purpose and intent, powers and duties, and membership of the planning board. And just like to briefly go over the powers and duties of the planning board in a way to welcome our new member, Dr. Ozan. Ozan, am I saying it correct? Ozan?
Yes.
Thank you. So our planning board is given certain duties based on Chapter 160D, that's the North Carolina General Statutes Land Use Law. So items 1 through 7 that you see under powers and duties on your handout and also on the slide on the screen come straight from Chapter 160D. So first, it has to do with recommending to the Town Board of Commissioners about the town's comprehensive plan. And we are getting ready to do an update to our comprehensive plan, so that is something you all will be involved in. The second item, the planning board is giving the option to facilitate and coordinate citizen engagement in a planning process. Since I've been here, we haven't had much of an opportunity for that, but that is something I'd love to have you all help with the community engagement when we do the comprehensive plan update. The third item, develop and recommend policies, ordinances, development regulations, et cetera. That sounds like text amendments to me, and that's repeated again, but you all have worked on recommending text amendments for approval or denial to our Town Board of Commissioners. The fourth item, advise the Board of Commissioners concerning the implementation of plans, and I've already mentioned zoning text and map amendments as required by 160D, so that is something you all have been working on. The fifth item, exercise any functions in the administration and enforcement of various means for carrying out plans that the governing board, the Town Board of Commissioners, may direct. Not sure I've seen that happen yet. And item 6, we really don't have a basis for that. 6 has to do with providing a preliminary forum for quasi-judicial or evidentiary decisions. And about a year and a half ago, we made the policy change, or the Town Board of Commissioners made the policy change that evidentiary items or quasi-judicial items are reviewed and approved by our Board of Adjustment. So that is a separate track, so you all will not likely be involved in that sort of thing anytime soon. Item 7, perform any related duty that the Board of Commissioners may direct. So that could be a surprise. We haven't seen that yet, but it could happen. And then item 8 is restated for our LDO, and this is what you all have been focusing on, and I believe will continue to focus on. Big one, rezonings. We spent a few minutes talking about a couple of those when we were looking at the minutes. Text amendments, also very important to keep our development regulations clear and up to date. And then development agreements. Again, since I've been here, I haven't seen a development agreement come in front of you, although we have had a potential applicant express interest in submitting a development agreement for the town to participate in the cost of some road construction. So you may get to see one of those sometime soon. Any questions about these duties or what you see in front of you from the LDO?
During the rezoning, when they do have a concept plan, to what extent does the staff want feedback from the board about, redesigns or, location of townhomes or single family? Because I know they generally have been through several review cycles with staff before it ever gets to us.
That is a great point. Our technical review committee is made up of quite a few people, including planning staff. We also have on a town engineer as a consultant. We have additional planners who are consultants who are under contract that help us with that. Wake County does our stormwater and fire services review. And who else am I forgetting? City of Raleigh Utilities, that's important. How can I forget that? DO, well, another big one. Sometimes I don't want to think about the big roads, so put that out of my head. So DOT, so all of those people are involved in the review of the rezoning concept plans before they come to you. And typically they go to, if they're lucky, 2 rounds, but more than likely it's 3 rounds of review that they go through. And that's, a 4 to 5 month process that's happening where the TRC and staff are looking at the rezoning concept plan and making sure it's reasonably compliant with our land development ordinance. It's hard to get things perfect because we seek that higher level of perfection during the preliminary subdivision plat submittal when there's more detail, more engineering that's been done. But I hope I'm getting to your point about all the review that has taken place. So as far as detailed items, I guess we're looking for less comment on details and more comment on the policy and the use and the zoning district. Is this the right zoning district and the right use for this area? We have to figure out that before we can jump into any other details. If you have some great design sense, comment away, but the important things for the planning board are looking at the zoning district, thinking more at the policy level, and providing feedback and questions for the town board of commissioners. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think it might be good also if you could quickly, if you can quickly.
Sure.
Just run down after we approve a plan.
Yes.
What are the steps until lots are being sold?
Okay, so let's say you recommend approval of a rezoning site concept plan that is a residential neighborhood. So next, we skip a month, and then they'll go to the Town Board of Commissioners, and the applicant will present their rezoning case to the Town Board of Commissioners, and they get a presentation from staff as well, like you all do. And the Town Board may or may not approve that case, and even if they approve it, it may not happen at that first meeting. So usually 1 to 2 meetings, the Town Board of Commissioners will make their decision. Once that decision has been made, let's say the rezoning has been approved, the applicant is welcome to submit a preliminary subdivision plat, and that goes through another bunch of rounds of TRC review. And once with that, we also see a set of construction infrastructure drawings that will follow, sometimes coincide, but usually follow the preliminary subdivision plat. And the construction infrastructure drawings are obviously heavily engineered, and they'll show your streets and your utilities and your sidewalks and the shape of everything and all the engineering work that happens. And then the applicant can submit, this is a lot, isn't it? Then the applicant can start submitting final plats, and then go for building permits. Did I miss anything? So that length of time from when the applicant first submits an application for a rezoning and then gets building permits could be 2 years. So it's a lengthy process.
And a majority of those 2 years process, they've already worked with you all, the staff, before it even gets to this point here.
Yes, there's extensive work with the technical review committee that Mike leads. And like I said, I mentioned all those people, and I couldn't even remember all of them. There are so many people involved. So we try to have a solid, thorough team to make sure every I gets dotted and T gets crossed as we go through everything.
The only thing I might point out, just so everybody's aware, is after CDs, that the developers actually have to construct the subdivision before they can go to final plats.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
that's where a lot of the 2
Okay.
years comes in, is the
Yes.
actual construction phase of the project.
Now, I was thinking 2 years just for the review and then the construction. Or am I including-
Construction has to be complete before the final plats are
Yeah,
recorded.
and then more.
Right, and 9 months between
Yeah.
CDs and final plats. So,
Mhm.
yeah, we're creeping on 3 years. And
Yep.
And that was a lot to talk through. Would be happy to create a simple flow chart if that would be helpful to bring to a future meeting, or we could make a handout where you can see all these different things.
I was just thinking it'd be useful for everybody to kind of hear that time frame, because I know a lot of times we approve the subdivisions here, and then, road improvements are attached to them, and we go a year, 2 years, and we haven't seen anything yet. And it's good to know where it's at in those stages.
Or they're dragging sewer, power, or something
Yeah,
else out
and,
there.
and there's a lot of things. I know some of the ones on Rolesville Road, they're just now getting deep into construction on those.
Yeah,
Pushing
they
dirt.
did 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah,
went through
we
here,
approved
so.
them.
I think it was great
That's a
to
good
know
point.
about the TRC that happens ahead of that too, before here, so. That's a lot of back and forth too.
Yes, it is. Any other comments or questions?
I do think a flow chart would be helpful.
Okay, awesome. I wrote it down on my notes right here to make that for you all. We'll try to come up with something that we can email and give you a hard copy if you'd like.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Thanks.
I just have the one question on the, performs any other related duties that the Board of Commissioners may direct?
Sounds kind of wild. I don't know.
What is that?
Well, let's see. The Town Board of Commissioners might say, I need some help figuring something out and put together, assign you a particular project to work on, planning related. That's just something that comes to mind. Mayor Pro Tem Sneed, I don't know if you think of anything else you might want the planning board's help with?
Not yet, but my goal is to take this to the board, just to make sure that this is streamlined enough and not too broad, to bring back to you all, bring back to us, so that we have a clear and better understanding of what our lane is in this meeting. So that we don't get off track, we can stay on track. And because I believe in getting the work done, and side conversations happen to the side because we all have busy lives and have worked all day. So that's the goal, is to streamline everything so we know exactly what our goal is here. And so when I take that conversation back to the board, then I will see if there's anything else that may fit in this related duties category, to give it as an example.
It is very broad.
It's really just a catch-all, to your point. If there's some special project or something that were to come up that would make sense for the planning board to be a part of.
Wash my car.
It's kind of what it sounds like, right? Go pick up my dry cleaning while you're out there, please.
I mean, the word related does talk related, but I would change the wording because I've used that term in hiring things and pushed back on it.
Sure, this language
We are
in
volunteers,
items
we're
1
not
through 7
paid.
comes right from 160D, so I'm not sure we'd have much
Yeah, it comes
leeway in
straight from the statute.
shifting. But we can always add on, if there's some clarification needed.
But I would say related duties makes it a little more clarified, but
Sure.
related to planning board would be
Yeah.
one I would add.
The only things I can really think of is when they rewrote the UDO and asked for a couple of volunteers from the planning board to sit on that
If you said
board.
that they're looking for something related to the planning board, then I'd be more comfortable with the language. That's just open-ended.
And also, frankly, it is a little bit more of an authoritative statement by saying performing, like we don't have a choice. So I think maybe requesting, because again, to your point, we are volunteers, so, you know.
They doubled your salary last year.
Huh?
They double your salary last year?
Yeah, double my salary.
Double or nothing.
Anything else?
I think one thing, item number 4 refers to, I think that's one thing that we've always tried to make sure, advise, we're an advisory board to the Board of Commissioners, and I think that's got to be held out. And I may be speaking incorrectly, but that's exactly where we are, right?
Advisory board is exactly what you
Yeah.
are.
Okay.
Yes, that is
And
what
that's- I
the
just-
planning
yeah.
board does.
That's right.
Perfect. Great.
All right. Anybody else have anything else for Meredith?
And go on to the Affordable Housing Plan update.
All right.
So last November, we kicked off an affordable housing plan with Thomas P. Miller and Associates. And news release was put out. I don't know how many of you saw that. And the quote in here, this is truth, I was really excited to start the conversation on affordable housing in Rolesville, because it's not a topic that I've heard much about in my time here. And the consultant's been, I've been happy with what the consultant's been doing. They're in town today and tomorrow for some stakeholder meetings. I'll show you a picture of that. So today we had a stakeholder meeting, and we invited local developers, Wake County Housing staff, a staff person from Habitat for Humanity was there. We went through some different goal-setting exercises, and then the group tomorrow will be different people going through the same things. So I don't know how well you can see the picture in the middle. The first thing that the consultant asked us to do was draw what you think housing will be like in Rolesville in the future. And that's my sketch in the middle, but the other ones were fun as well. So we had a nice time doing that today. And I don't know how many of you have seen on the town's social media accounts. I've noticed it on Instagram and Facebook. A link to a housing survey that was released last week, and it will be open for several more weeks. And I would love for you all to share that survey with your networks. And Mr. Verstegen, I got your email that that your neighborhood was noted incorrectly in the survey. So that means I know you've done the survey, so thank you.
Don't look at the answers.
I haven't seen any of the answers yet, so it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see what comes of that. So please take a look, and I'll be happy to email you a link to this if you don't feel like looking this up on social media. Can certainly follow up with a link, and you can share that maybe with your networks. If you have it in an email, maybe that would be easier. So like I said, another stakeholder meeting will take place tomorrow morning, and next steps after that include the consultant working on the actual plan document, and we'll be bringing that to you in early summer for your review. So we can look forward to that.
Is the conversation around that more, what's the focus of all those conversations about what affordable housing is? Is it more just trying to figure out how to create a plan or a zoning set of ordinances that make things more affordable, or are there actually discussions about the types of governmental programs that could be created in order to assist the purchase of homes?
We are just getting started, so we're not to that level of detail yet. Where we are right now, big picture, goal setting, like figuring out what do we have, what's our housing inventory now? Are there any gaps? And if there are any gaps, how could we fill those gaps? And what do we need to do as we move into the future to improve affordability if that is how the responses from the survey come back, and if that is what the town board ends up approving as part of the plan.
Okay.
You know, with affordability, I mean, ask everybody, what do you think affordable housing is? We're going to get a bunch of different answers. So defining what affordable housing is for Rolesville and what we think our community's needs are is a starting point. And once we get our heads wrapped around that, we can identify action items to take to help us be successful as we move forward. So it sounds like you were getting excited about the details and how do we do certain things. Not quite there yet. So as we move through it, there will be more to talk about and learn.
Fair enough.
All right.
Anything else for that? I just wanted to let you all know what was going on in case you didn't know. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And our town attorneys recommended to staff that we talk with you all about upcoming LDO text amendments, since we don't have any rezoning applications or text amendments to discuss this evening. And staff keeps a running list of LDO text amendments, and if we had more time in the day, we would already have all these done, because these are all really important. We have a long list of ones that are not on this slide, a lot of clarifications and cleanup type items that will be coming in front of you in the near future. Another thing that our team has talked about is putting our text amendments on a regular schedule. So you could anticipate that, you know, every 4 months, we'll have a round of amendments. Maybe it's every 6 months. And then we know that we're going to dedicate certain meetings to reviewing text amendments and you all making recommendations on those. So like I said, we're working on that, and we'll hope to have some more predictability within that schedule, because they have been sporadic, some close together, some spread out, and we'd like to improve that scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the bigger items that we have on our running list that we hope you will see soon. First one is in Section 3 of our Land Development Ordinance, the zoning section. And some of you may recall a couple years ago, we did an LDO text amendment inspired by the Walbrook development, but also good for the Main Street Vision Plan and Corridor. In general commercial, setbacks may be reduced by up to 65% if certain things are provided. For example, a wider sidewalk, reduced vehicular surface area, and more building frontage, pulling your building up to the street and not, you know, having the building be the main focus or community gathering space be the main focus versus a parking lot. So you do that, you do the nice sidewalk, extra landscaping, and then one option was to provide public art. Do those things, make it more of a special place. You get to reduce your setbacks and you get more developable area. And that sort of development standard makes sense in a Main Street corridor in a walkable area. Right now, that option is only available in general commercial. We'd like to discuss potentially having that be along the entire Main Street corridor, or are there any other spots, some offshoots from Main Street, like a part of Rogers Road, that it might make sense to apply this type of standard to? We've had some requests from developers, and when you're creating that walkable Main Street place, it does make sense often to pull your buildings up and create that pedestrian realm, or elevate the pedestrian realm versus the vehicular realm. And what I mean by that is creating that walkable space versus a street where you just see parking lots when you go by. So that's something we may be talking about soon. In Section 5 uses, we have standards for home occupations. And this one came from Attorney Neal. I was looking through my emails, and he said he really thought it'd be a great idea if we took a closer look at the home occupation section of our LDO. He said, I think that the town board might want this to be more strict than it is, as far as the types of businesses a person may run out of their home. So that is something we could look at in the future. Section 6, development standards, signs. You've probably heard us talk about signs before and the need to update the sign ordinance. The sign ordinance was somewhat carried over from the Unified Development Ordinance, and just quickly looking at it, you can find discrepancies, and like on one list, it says a certain type of sign is allowed, and then on another list, it says it's not allowed. Things like that need to be straightened out. And also, sign ordinance philosophy-wise, are we happy with what our signs look like in Rolesville? And I think that's something that would be great to discuss. Disclaimer, I lived my formative years in Boca Raton, Florida, which has a very strict sign ordinance, and I lived in Cary for 21 years. So I'm sure you've heard what people say about Cary and signs. So when I'm pretty conservative when it comes to a sign ordinance, so I have that bias coming with me. So I prefer stronger sign standards. So that's my preference. I don't know what the community's preference is. So I think it's something worth talking about, because I think we can make some improvements in the visual nature of what's going on going down Main Street with signage. But I'd love to have that conversation with you all coming up. Perimeter buffers. We did make some changes to perimeter buffers in the last year or so. A lot of our buffer requirements include fences and walls, and we've had some issues over the past year plus with the requirement for applicants to put, or developers to put, fences and walls between their property and the adjacent property. A couple different scenarios can make it difficult. Let's say we want to save some existing trees. Sorry, we got to put the trees down, to cut the trees down, because in order to build this wall and put the foundation in, the trees can't stay. So that seems like an unintended consequence to requiring a wall or a fence between uses. Often, grading can be difficult, and the visual implications of having a fence or a wall between many different uses, again, is that really what we're going for? I think if you're looking at a use like industrial next to residential, absolutely. But when uses are a little more similar, we still see that some of those fence and wall requirements, do they really make sense? So I think it would be great to have a more detailed conversation about what we've seen happening with the LDO, how those requirements have been working for us, where the questions and issues have come up, and decide if we want to keep that or change it. And then tree ordinance. Eddie Henderson from our Parks and Rec department has been working on the Tree City USA application, and the feedback he received from the Tree City USA group was that they would strongly prefer that our tree ordinance is a separate document. And they're also seeking clarification that the tree ordinance is always in effect. And they said they need to see these things updated for the town of Rolesville to keep their Tree City status after this next year. And would like to make some clarifications to that, possibly pull that ordinance out to go along with that, because we think being a Tree City USA designation is a good thing for the community. Any, like, hey, you need to have this on the big list for upcoming text amendments?
No, can't think of any.
Okay. Sounds like enough?
Sounds like these text amendments are coming from staff, attorneys, a little bit of everybody.
Yes, that is correct.
Mhm.
Mike, Michelle, anything I missed for the text amendments you want to add? Okay. Okay,
All right,
thank you.
that it? All right, well, I guess we'll go on to the communication section.
Yes. So previous planning board recommendations, and hopefully I won't get in trouble with Mike because I can't remember the case numbers off the top of my head. We always like to use the case numbers and correspondence because it's easier for people to track if you want to. Okay, case names? Sure. So at your December meeting, you had 4124 Burlington Mills Road, the Rolesville Rural Fire Department case, and the Harris Creek Farm case, and the Woodleaf case. And out of those three, the fire department case went to town board last month and was approved. And the other two cases have not been in front of the town board yet. Both applicants needed more time, and we expect the Woodleaf case to be at next week's town board meeting. They're in good shape for their presentation and discussion. And the Harris Creek Farm applicant is going back to the drawing board somewhat with their concept plan. They are going to go to an all single-family detached layout versus the single-family detached and townhome layout, and they are still working on that. So we think they will be in front of the town board in April. I think it's April 2nd. What did I miss, Mike?
No, that's accurate to the best of our knowledge as to when these items will land. Again, for Woodleaf, we have done all the notification requirements for both the voluntary annexation and the rezoning for hearing on March 5th. At February, only the annexation was on that agenda because the applicant notified staff that they were not ready to go to the February 6th meeting with the rezoning. But we'd already advertised for the annexation in the newspaper, so we had to have that on the agenda, so it needed that action. And so the town board forwarded that 1 month forward, or continued it to the March 5th meeting. But now the rezoning has caught up, so to speak, and will be presented. The notification letters were sent out, the property was posted, et cetera, last week. So that is on the agenda for the board to do with it what they like. Then, correct, the Harris Creek Farm, they chose to do a redesign on the project. They're going to do that. They have not yet submitted that fully to staff. That'll be posted on their project webpage when we do get it. We'll do a little cursory review with TRC just to make sure that there's no issues with that. And then we'll consider taking it to the board. And we're going to probably look for some feedback to see if that applicant should go back to the planning board to have that redesign looked at. So that's a little bit of internal discussions we need to have on that. But until staff receives that new submittal, we don't know exactly what we're getting. So that one is still there. So it may come back to this board. It might end up on the town board, but no sooner than April meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any other planning information to report?
I've had some interest in training expressed to me, training for you all. I know we did some training a year or so ago on the development review process, and Mike, your question this evening had us go through that a little bit. So, and Tisha requested the flow chart or like that idea. So once staff creates that flow chart, we could do a brief training session on the development review process to get that clear in everyone's mind. Are there any other topics you all might like training on?
I think just, you know, keeping everybody up on top of the processes and, you know, what the expectations are is a good thing to touch on as we continue to add new board members.
Okay, sounds great.
My
That is all.
question maybe.
Certainly.
This board reviews the topics that's given to us. Is there a mechanism for us to like initiate a topic from here?
Sure, if there's something you have a question about or something you think we should be looking at?
Maybe it can be like an initiative, it can be like a new vision or a new perspective or something.
Sure,
Is
there's,
that a common thing or?
Yeah, we do it
on
under
our
other
agenda.
business generally.
sure,
It'll be a recommendation, so we made a recommendation a while back for the town to go do a traffic analysis basically on the whole of Rolesville Road rather than piecemeal. I think there was another one.
We typically, on our agenda, we have a section for other business, and if there's something that's not on the agenda that you'd like to
Okay.
see staff look at, you can bring it up at that point in time, like if you wanted staff to look at a traffic area.
Thank you.
Sorry, we were going back to the slide with the overview of the responsibilities. And to refresh, these first 7 items are pulled straight from state law, which is the state law enabling a municipality to give the planning board some duties. So, and it's a may. So that's to the whole, the board will demand us do this. Well, they may do that and direct their planning board to do it. So, right, if the board should direct the planning board to look into any item, to your point, like an example of a corridor study or something, it would fall into one of these kind of generalized things right here, which is not to say that this planning board can't plant the bug in the ear of the town board liaison to go back and say the planning board has a concern or a thought on something that maybe the town wishes to look at. Again, you're a great, soundboard for the town as a whole, and to give that direction back to the board can consider it, and then they can come back and direct the board to work on a project, so to speak, with staff support. And that fits into some of those first 7 items before the one about the map amendments and the text amendments, which are your core responsibilities to review and make recommendations to the town board on. So yeah, anything like that would fit in somewhere in these first 6 or 7 items.
Thank you.
certainly, thank you.
Anyone else have anything else for staff?
Yeah, I got one thing. So, I know at one point I'd asked about, essentially a map of the area and then what's been rezoned, what's actively being built, right, and in the completion stage, just trying to get a better picture of what it all looks like, because we see it, you said 3 years, right? So it's literally piece by piece you're seeing it, and we'd like
Right.
to have that coordinated map kind of view of where everything is and where it's going.
Let's see.
Did it? She gonna show me?
Let's see, we have this one online. I don't know if this is giving you enough, though. I'll do. Okay. I always want to use my mouse to make that bigger. Okay. So we have this one, and the colors, the pink means, well, that's funny, I wonder if that's right. This, you can click on and see the status, like Woodleaf is in review, and Kalis Falls is under construction. I don't know if that gives you enough.
Yeah, I think that's what I was looking for, is really just trying
Okay.
to understand, again, where you can see where it's,
Yeah, it's nice to see all the activity going on in one
This
place.
is the gray, is that completed? They're complete, I
Should
believe, right?
be,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've looked at this not long ago.
Yeah, the gray are completed. We're working with our vendor on this, right, to make the,
Good point.
it had a hiccup around the January 1st time, so apologize if you went there and you clicked. But, right, each one of these is a hyperlink in the text box. Oops, how do I get that? Sorry. Right, and then you can scroll down. That will take you to that project webpage where all the statuses are given, all the applicant submittals are there, the staff comments that are provided, updates, et cetera. So that's the way that the map is generally used. And the color code as to the gray is built, pink is in review, so that would be rezoning, subdivision plats, et cetera. And then it moves to the orange under construction. So after a construction drawing was approved, a subdivision is being built, or a 7-Eleven is being built, whatever, it would move to that point.
Under construction, still counting the houses being constructed at that point in time?
Is that, okay, yes,
Okay.
yes. So pre-closeout, so when this, again, the whole 6 years later, after you all saw the rezoning, they build and close the last house, it goes through subdivision closeout, and then it turns to gray on the map. So in time, this map will be far more gray than it is multicolored.
You really see the number of projects that are in the various stages of approval and construction on there.
Yeah.
That is correct, and again, with our snafu with the vendor, it's might be a little bit behind. But again, when a project or a property could be in pink for years, you know, as we're going through the various stages of preliminary subdivision, drawings, et cetera, and then they go to construction. Or the rezoning, again, could take a year, then preliminary subdivision and construction drawing review can be another year plus, so, yeah.
But that's why I think it's helpful, right? Because when you start seeing them push dirt, you're in the orange, right? Because you're in construction
I
phase.
think that's the intent of that one.
And then you're in the pink, and I can see, look, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's a whole bunch of
Yes.
either in progress or, you know, getting ready to go to that stage just in a certain section of town.
Right, so.
You gotta take a bigger look at it.
Yeah, so pink would be the planning phases, which is all sorts of things, zoning, subdivision, plat, drawings.
There is a legend that does go along with the zoning map.
Oh.
We apologize when it got switched over. It
Really?
doesn't portray on the website. We are working with
Oh,
our
okay.
UC3 to go in and
Okay.
put that back in.
I didn't realize that.
Somehow we lost
Okay.
it, and we're not quite sure where we lost it, but there is a legend, so I do apologize for that. If there is one, it's just not.
Okay.
Does Wake County do anything like this? Because this is city limits of Rolesville, the town
Yes.
limits, so
Yeah, Wake County.
outside there's a lot of stuff going on in the
Wake-
county. I didn't know.
Wake Forest has one as well.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Wake County map
Each
on that.
each municipality has something like this on there. I haven't seen, I know the county has, I don't know if I've seen the development lays over top of it, but the county does everything else on top of theirs. But I haven't found the Wake County development one.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
I think Wake County Planning just gives a list of their approved subdivisions. I don't think they
Yeah,
do an
I
interactive
don't
map.
think they do either, which is,
sure.
yeah,
not- I
yeah, I
can't
think that's probably true. 'cause-
Raleigh uses IMAPs
Right.
for that point. You can click on a subdivision approval or rezoning approval, like hot link right to the conditions of approval or something like that. It's a really great tool, resource. Yeah, I don't know about Wake County personally.
I think the last time I checked, they just give a list of approved subdivisions, and you have to figure out where it's at and
You can search
on your
for the
own.
PIN
Yeah.
number, yes.
Yeah. They could use IMAPs. It is their own tool. It is a county, city of Raleigh tool. But I guess they don't, fill it up with that data, whereas Raleigh uses IMAPs very much. Someday we too will move to IMAPs and be sending our links and so forth, our materials there. So you'll be able to use IMAPs to find Rolesville information as well, since it's a wonderful tool. Right now, we have our own development map.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Anyone else have any questions for staff? If not, we'll move on to the town attorney's report now.
I do not have anything to report.
No report. All right. Now we come to our other business section. Does anyone have any other business to bring for the staff? And that would be the opportunity if you did have something.
Next time.
All right, maybe next time. Okay. Does our board liaison have any other business?
I'm looking forward to learning if you want.
All righty. All right, we come to the last item on the agenda, adjournment.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Have a motion for adjournment. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you. I'll send you an email tomorrow to see anything on my calendar.
Okay.
I want to get more information
This was
on what we
left
talk
at night.
about.
We're usually midnight.